Welcome to this week's Q&A. It's going to be a tumultuous start to 2022, I believe, and we're already seeing some of that popping through, but we've had this question asked of us by many of our clients, Aussie expats around the world, and a lot of our clients back home in Australia, and it's more around the impacts of inflation. Saying, look, what's going to happen to property prices this year? And that's as a result, obviously, of the higher than expected inflation that we've been seeing printing in the US in particular, where it's been above 7%. The latest ones just came through in Australia, 3.5%. So it's something that's pretty important, and it is going to impact the way central banks are going to behave with monetary policy. They're going to raise rates. Again, the question really relates to Australian housing prices, so people are very much attuned to saying, well, what's the RBA going to do? What's going to happen to interest rates in Australia? And I believe they're going to go up probably twice later this year. So, we may even see 1% as an overnight cash rate by the end of 2022. And that's against a backdrop of more aggressive hikes in the US, where the Fed's going to have to raise rates starting in March and perhaps moving through at every meeting between then and the end of the year. We'll just have to see how that plays out. And clearly, with rising rates, that impacts all sorts of asset markets. So it is going to have an impact. But in Australia, I think we're actually pretty fortunate because a lot of people have taken advantage of the ultra-low fixed interest rates that we've seen over the last 18 months. Most of our clients we've advised to fix long-term in terms of their fixed interest rates, and they've done so. So that's going to give an inherent cushion to what's happening in the marketplace, where these are going to roll off over the next 1, 2, 3 or 4 years. And so people have got that peace of mind and that stability of expense already factored into their investment portfolio or the loans on their homes. And I think that's a really important thing to bear in mind. The other thing is, if you look at the data that we gather from the Australian banks and from the RBA themselves, people have been making a lot of prepayments. They've been paying extra money on their mortgage payments during the course of the last 2 years since the pandemic really hit, and that's going to give them another buffer. So I actually feel reasonably confident about a benign outcome this year for property markets in Australia. Obviously, many of them will react in very different ways, and that's due to affordability issues, but also, and it's something that we always instill in our clients' minds, the key underlying drivers. So population growth, infrastructure growth and employment growth are the key drivers for property pricing and for housing absorption. And it's something we need to bear in mind more so than ever, because as we all know, a lot of this inflation is being caused by supply side shocks, I suppose, lack of people being able to be added to the workforce. So the government has come out and said, we're going to bring in 200,000 extra people from overseas. We're going to facilitate this immigration in the short term, and those people will need to live somewhere. So we want to see where some of those skill shortages are, where those people are going to be migrating to, where they're going to be living, because all of those things will have an impact, but it'll be quite varied. So really a year to be doing your research, look at the data, stay right on top of things, especially if you're actively looking to enter the market as a property investor or looking to perhaps upgrade your home, and looking at the right scenario and the right backdrop for that. So look, we'll be doing that. We'll be keeping everyone updated on a regular basis during the course of the year and sharing our thoughts on what's going to be happening here. I look forward to doing that. I'm Andrew Unterweger from Wise Guru, and I'll see you next week.